I think it's good to do an analysis that does not take account only of what governments do, but what societies in general do. And societies are plural. Societies have different attitudes and approaches, and as we have seen some attitudes which are negative, we have seen also very positive attitudes. And I think this is how we should approach things. Refugees are outcomes of political issues and political crisis. And I think that you will not be able to address refugee issues in the future without taking care of the very issues that generate refugees. When it comes to refugees as such, once the flows have been generated, well, there is a framework, there is an international framework, there is the 1951 Convention on the status of refugees. There are rights for protection that refugees are entitled to. Some rights are not even dependent on the 1951 Convention, they are an international customary law, and these should be honored. These should be honored because this is one of the cornerstones of the international system. You know, you do not address refugees out of a in a human rights perspective, or you do not address refugees in order to meet their needs for protection and for livelihood. It's a very political issue, because refugees are a sign that rules of the international system have been put into question. Rules for the behavior of states, of actors in the international system, have been infringed upon somewhere. So if you want to preserve the international system, you need to address the problem that has been revealed by its norms having been violated or infringed upon or broken. So it is in the interest of everyone, in fact, to address the needs of refugees. Of course, there is the humanitarian issue, there is the rights of refugees for protection or for livelihood, but there is also another perspective to it, which is keeping the system as it is, or at least allowing the system to progress, to evolve in an orderly manner. When it comes to refugees from the Middle East, much has been made of the refugees coming from the Middle East to Europe. But you know, the real issue of refugees remained in the Middle East. 1 out of 4 inhabitants of Lebanon is a refugee. This is the real crisis. Or in Jordan, the proportion is a little bit lower, but Jordan is full of refugees of different types and who have come to Jordan at different points of time. This is where really the refugee issue has become a very severe crisis. But the movement of refugees to Europe has also brought to evidence that the Middle East and Europe are neighbors. And what happens in one region will certainly have echoes in the region next door. So it is extremely important to address the roots of the problem and also the manifestations of the problem itself. Unfortunately, movement of populations have been securitized in the sense that they have been considered from a security lens. When in reality they respond first of all to economic rationale, social rationale, and in the case of refugees to political rationale or to political causes, political reasons. And I think it's only by addressing them politically, by looking at the region. And here I'm talking about the Euro-Mediterranean region. I'm not dissociating when I'm not separating them. Talking of the region as a whole, economically, I think this is how we can address significantly the movement of population, because there is a lot of assumptions. The general public has been fed with assumptions which in reality are not correct. So, and the general public has been fed, also has been made to look at population movements also through a security and securitization perspective. And this does not help. This is the case now. We cannot ignore it. Policies need to be reconsidered. How policies are formulated needs to be reconsidered. I personally think that there should be closer cooperation in formulating policies by looking jointly at these and those concerns that we can move forward. Finally, I think we also need to take account of the political discourses around population movements, political discourses of xenophobia, of hate discourse. This should be addressed, and it should be addressed on both shores of the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean should not be looked at as a separating border. It should be looked at as a bridge. The cooperation should be pushed forward, should be incremented, and this area should be an area of cooperation. Burden sharing is the term used in the 1951 Convention, but there's more and more talk about responsibility sharing. Solidarity is a means to share responsibility. You cannot share responsibility without solidarity. And we have seen a problem, a crisis of solidarity between countries that have hosted millions of refugees and countries in Europe, for instance. But we have also seen a crisis of solidarity within the European Union. Cooperation is an approach to international relations. Securitization is another approach. If you securitize, you will have a real problem ensuring responsibility sharing, because securitization is behind an egocentric focus on interest. But egocentric focus on interest has been at the origin of many tragedies in the past. And I hope that the international system can avoid repeating mistakes of the past that have led to tragedies, unnecessary tragedies for us today.